Hello, it's Doris with Aldi Books, and I'm here to review some books. I know it's been a little while since I've dedicated myself to that task, but I'm ready to dive right in, and I'm trying out a new format here. So, I remember when I first got on BookTube 5 or so years ago, everybody did a monthly wrap-up. And then we kind of progressed to a mid-month wrap-up and an end-of-the-month wrap-up. And then we went to the Friday Reads format, which was new and revolutionary. I think I'm gonna try groups of three. I like the number 3. I don't know, 7's my favorite number, but that's too many. 3 is my second favorite number. 21 is my third favorite number because, 3 times 7. I'm in the weeds already, but did you expect anything else? So, anyway, as you know, I'm here in China. You may not know if you don't know. I'm in China. Yeah, it's so cool. And I don't have access to physical books at the same rate as I did before. I'm reading a lot more online. Really enjoying that process, by the way. But it's harder to hold up the book and be cool with it and all. And life has also been chaotic for me over here. I'm teaching chemistry now. Who knew I had this ability? Anyway. I ramble. Welcome to my ramble. So anyway, I'm gonna try this new thing, 3 books on a topic, and we'll see how it goes. And inserting digital images of said books between discussions. I like it. So this first one is 3 books for Black History Month. Yes, so I'll be talking about Glory, The Trees, and A Mercy. So let's get to it. So I read Glory by NoViolet Bulawayo in December, actually, but I wanted to include it in this video because I've really been wanting to talk about that one. It is set in a fictional African nation, and the characters are all animals in the style of George Orwell's Animal Farm, and it completely worked for me. NoViolet was in the running for a Booker for her, I believe it was her debut novel, We Need New Names. And I definitely need to read this one soon because I loved Glory, and Sean, I love Sean, the book maniac, and he just raves about We Need New Names periodically on BookTube, so I need to read that one, definitely. But anyway, Glory. So we have this, it's loosely based on, not loosely, I think it's pretty closely based on a dictatorship in Zimbabwe that was overthrown after 40 years. So this dictator is an old steed, and he's got a young ass for a wife. The characters, okay? And she plays a huge role in the beginning, just to send him down the tubes, so to speak. And he's replaced by his vice president, who's a fat old steed. Characterization again. And you have so just like George Orwell's Animal Farm, the animals represent different aspects of society. So the military are dogs, and that's one of the best characterizations in the book. Just the violence that's depicted with the military, but also the humanity at the same time. It's just this great juxtaposition that she writes in one of her passages. And I think that's a shining spot for me, is some of these passages are just absolutely absolutely brilliant in their characterization and detail and symbolism and what they're saying. Another one that really stood out to me was the cat, who is the vice president, who then becomes the leader after the overthrow. But he's like a puppet leader because really behind the scenes, the coup is driving his position. But this cat is the religious zealot who has kind of tricked this old horse into thinking that he's lucky because of his voodoo scenes behind the scenes, so to speak. Really got into that passage with religion and politics. And then the other one that really worked for me was the women in this story. So you've got the original dictator's new wife, and her position in society and what she creates for herself there. You've got this younger woman, again a younger woman, but who was exiled for years after the first overthrow, something that went on there. And she comes back. Her mother has been missing her for, I think, about 10 years. And she's able to come back after the overthrow and plays a pivotal role in what happens with this second regime. But the real stage was almost a Greek choir. It was these women that were playing an activist role in this ongoing situation, and they would come to political rallies and parade naked across the stage. And it was just hilarious, this scandal of these naked, I believe they were also horses, but the audacity that they would parade naked across the stage. And you're like, but they're animals, they have fur. And then you think, don't we all? Anyway, it was just very profound moments with women in society and how women are treated and the roles we play. Really loved it. Now, this book for me was more of a 4-star, although I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I really did. Like, mentally it's a 5-star, but logistically it's a 4-star because it is flawed. The pacing is off. It comes and goes. It's quite repetitious in places. For me, that worked because, I don't know, it kind of had a Dux Newberry feel in that respect for me, the repetition. And the ending wasn't quite as impactful for me as I felt like I wanted it to be. It really worked for some of my buddy readers, but like the repetition worked for me and it didn't for them. So it's like, it's like kind of a niche book, I would say. I would definitely say give it a whirl. And if you're not absolutely loving it in the first, 25, 30 pages, you're probably not going to, because it is what it is from the beginning. But really loved it. So good, so good. And I'm gonna read We Need New Names this year, definitely. So next up we have The Trees by Percival Everett. I was turned on to this one by Brian from Bookish. He raved about it several times after he read it, and it just really intrigued me. Seemed like something that would really connect with me, and it totally did. Oh my gosh, I loved this book. Brilliant. Another brilliant read. These are all brilliant. Spoiler alert, all 3 of these are brilliant. So, for different reasons though, super interesting. Anyway, The Trees is set in the southern US, modern times. It's a murder mystery, but it's a bit of a double mystery. So opening scenes of the book, a white man is brutally murdered. And let me emphasize brutally. If you do not appreciate grotesque, who does? But anyway, there's a grotesque scene. And so you might not like that if you don't gel with that sort of thing. But brutally murdered white man. But the double mystery is that alongside this white murder, there is a brutally murdered black man who is very reminiscent of Emmett Till. Now, Emmett Till was a black man, really a youth, 14-year-old, who was lynched in Mississippi in 1955 after he supposedly whistled at a white woman in a grocery store. Yes, horrible. Highly recommend his most recent nonfiction piece. I read that several years ago. I'll link it below, but such a good book. Anyway, also I can't talk about the BookTube Prize book I'm reading that I want to talk about. But anyway, oh, she rambles again. She rambles again. So this book, not only is it a murder mystery, but it is a spoof on white people in the South. And being a white woman born and raised in the Southern U.S., I thought it was just hilarious. I laughed so hard the first half of this book, I can't even tell you. Now, like I said, it is brutal. And let me tell you, it is also completely crass. It is so crass. If you can't handle crass, don't read the book. It's very crass. It's very crass, it's very brutal, but I laughed. So, I don't know, maybe if you read it, you'll be embarrassed for me that I'm admitting to laughing so hard at this. But it also has these amazing, serious undertones. Like, this is such a commentary on the South. Like I said, it's a spoof. All of these segments of society are completely stereotyped, and it really works. It really works. I don't know if I need to tell you anything else about it, but I thought it was super funny, super interesting, and super profound. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Okay, and finally we have A Mercy by Toni Morrison. And there's really nothing, unlike the other two, there is nothing funny about this one. Toni Morrison, if you haven't read her yet, dare I say you need to? Yes, I'm saying it. You need to. Toni Morrison she's just the epitome of still waters run deep. Her works are just so profound, thematically rich. They just speak so much. And just the fact that she can say so much in such a short space. Her books tend to be shorter in length. So far, I've only read The Bluest Eye and her second one, which the name escapes me at the moment. I'll try to link it below as well. I loved The Bluest Eye. That was a gorgeous piece of work. The second one, I really loved the dialect and conversations in that one, but the plot didn't gel with me quite as much. Now, A Mercy, interesting. So A Mercy is set back in the late 1600s in the United States. So we've got the onset of slavery. This is pre-revolutionary, but it opens with a man who is not himself a slave owner per se. He does have a Native American woman working for him who, to be honest, she's more or less in bondage here. And then he has another young woman who you're not sure of her background initially. You're not sure of a lot of things in this book, and that's deliberate on Toni Morrison's part. She deliberately paces the book so you've got characters that are mysterious, not mysterious exactly, but you don't quite know what's going on. Let me just tell you, you don't quite know what's going on until the end. So this guy, he's trying to make a place for himself in the new world, and he's visiting a man who owes him money, and the man obviously doesn't have the money, so he offers to give him a slave. So the guy chooses this woman who is a very valuable slave, and the guy's like, no, I don't want you to have her, but one of her children. And so he's gonna take the son. He doesn't really want to. He doesn't really want to get into slavery, but he knows he's not gonna get his money, and he's got a bit of a heart for people on hard times. So he realizes that he can give this slave possibly a better life. So he agrees. The woman says, don't take my son, take my daughter. So he ends up taking the 12-year-old daughter and bringing him. His wife has just miscarried, so he thinks that having this girl will maybe help her get over this situation. Again, with the air quotes. There's so many air quotes. So he takes Florence home. So the first chapter, each chapter is from a different perspective. Florence, her perspective keeps reappearing periodically. So the first perspective is from this young slave girl, and it's a bit in the weeds. Like, I've been in the weeds, but this one's really in the weeds. Very murky reading that first section. And I remember telling my buddy readers, I was reading this with Karen and Patrice and Heidi, whom I also read Glory with, I believe. And I actually read The Trees with Heidi. Yeah, these books were all brilliant buddy reads. Also, let me say that if you're looking for brilliant buddy reads, any of these three are great discussions. So Florence, the first chapter, I remember saying, I don't know, I'm really not enjoying this book at all. I don't know what's going on. I'm wading through the weeds here, and it's not that interesting. I'm almost skim reading it. So, but it's Toni Morrison, so I know I need to give it time and give it a good try. And I remember saying that if this book comes through and is impactful in the end, it will all be worth it. And let me tell you, Toni Morrison delivered. She delivered in this book for me. Pardon me, I have a class at 8:55. It's 8:42. I'm good. So, like I said, each chapter is from a different perspective. So you hear from Dude, the guy. You hear from his wife. You hear from this Native American woman that's working for him. You hear from this other young woman who is laid out to be a slut initially. You hear, and you don't know her background. You hear from Florence multiple times. You hear from a free black man who is a blacksmith. You hear from a couple of young gentlemen that are working on this farm intermittently. And with each perspective, you learn more about what's going on, and you learn more about life. The really impactful thing that Toni Morrison does in this book is talk about slavery. like I said, she talks about this young woman who is indeed a slave. She talks about this Native American woman, indentured, his wife, who is basically sold, you know. There's no life for her in Europe where she comes from, and her dad just, she's sent off. She's sent off to this new world, and women didn't have much choice. So you've got this variety of slavery going on, but the deeper commentary is the ways that women can be enslaved in society through relationships with men, and through things you can get involved with. And I don't want to spoil it, so I don't want to say anything else. But wow, absolutely wow. The ending scene in this book just opens your eyes, and it's so incredibly, I'm gonna say it again, it is so incredibly profound, so incredibly brilliant. Wow, blew me away. So, I mean, it's a book where you get to the end and you want to just go back to the beginning and reread, because you understand everything now, and you know you're gonna get so much more out of it on the second reread because you get it. But you needed to not understand. You needed to not understand at the beginning to really be open to what she's gonna say, and to see it without preconceived ideas. I mean, the structure of this book really makes it, and Toni Morrison is just the queen. Okay, so thanks so much for watching. If you're still here, here's a little random cat fight in the bushes that you can't quite see, but I obviously found it funny, and a couple of bloopers for you. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye. So funny. Oh. This cat fight in the bushes. I gotta go catch the bus. Hello, it's Doris with Aldi Books, and I am here to review books. I know. It's been a while since I've So, Glory by NoViolet Bulawayo. Oh, shit. So, next up we have The Trees by Percival Everett. This is set in modern times in the deep south of the United States, and it's a murder mystery. Oh, Greg.